Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sunday stream. Today is November the 29th, 2020, and I'm going to be looking at SPX futures to see where we opened up. I'm looking at SPX index to give you key levels on support and resistance zones. I'll also be looking at some watch list names such as Apple, Netflix, Tesla, Peloton, Zoom, which has earnings coming up, and a bunch of other names. Be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like what you see. And I'm just going to get into it right now. So here is a chart of S&P futures. And as you can see, we are slightly higher to open up the night at 36.43. We ended Friday's session at 36.36, which was a shortened session due to Thanksgiving holidays. And I'm just going to jump into the SPX chart right now. And as you can see, we have all-time highs at 36.45 going into Monday. Obviously, us being close to all-time highs, I am looking at 36.46 to break. I would say 36.50 just for round numbers sake. Above that, it's blue sky breakout. So I'm looking at 36.65, 36.80, and 3,700 as the psychological overhead resistance. For support, 36.35 to 36.30 support. As you can see here, we tried to break above 36.35 last week on the 24th. We got rejected multiple times, traded below it, and on the 27th, which was the Friday, we traded above that range. Wick slowly passed down again to 36.30. Buyer stepped in, pushed the price up, and we closed above that range. So 36.30 is key support. Beneath that, I'm looking at support at 36.15 to 36.10, and then we have psychological support at 3600. Keep in mind, we also have a gap fill at 35.80 that was never filled. So depending on how the week opens up and what Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday does, a potential drop down to 35.80 is possible because these gaps tend to get filled. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into the watch list. I'm going to start with Apple. AAPL is the ticker name. Okay, as you can see, Apple, not much action. We traded below where we were last week, which was above the 117.50 area towards the 120.50 area. Right back down into this channel of 117.50 to 116, and we touched the 114 mark as well. So going into Monday, again, not much. I'm looking at 117.50. Above that, I'm looking at 119.50. And even if we do trade into that area, we're still going to be stuck from 120.50 all the way to 117.50. I'm personally looking at the break above 120.50 and 122 as confirmation that this trend is indeed changing and we are pushing to the upside. I'm going to go into the 4-hour chart as I like to see more action here. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm looking at 120, 50, and 122 as key areas where if we do break that 122 mark, I'm looking for a trend change, potentially to push to 127.50 if volume is strong and obviously if the markets push up. As you know, Apple is closely correlated to the S&P 500. So like I was saying before, if we do see all-time highs on SPX, perhaps 3,700 psychological, look for Apple to push past that 128 mark that we touched back on October the 13th, 2020. So levels that I'm looking at starting Monday, I'm looking at 116 to hold. If 116 does not hold, we have support at 114 and 112.50. Overhead resistance on the intraday time frames, I'm looking at 117.50. Above that, a potential take profit long position to 119.50 is highly possible. Like I said, if you're a more conservative trader, I'm looking at that 122 level as the first confirmation to break, and above 123, we're I wouldn't say pretty much guaranteed, but we're most likely to hit the 127.50 mark, depending on how the S&P proves itself. Okay, that's Apple on the 4-hour time frame. Moving along, NVDA, NVIDIA. NVIDIA, similar to Apple, stuck into this range of 120 all the way to 520 to 543, 547 range. Again, no dice until I see the 552 break. As a conservative trader, I'm looking at levels above that. If you're a day trader and you're looking for small swings, we ended Friday at 530. I'm looking at a break above 535 for a potential scalp to 543, 547. But like I said, we've been stuck into this zone, as you can see here, consolidating from 120 to basically 547. And that is one of the key numbers here. 547 would be your first confirmation, for a potential breakout. Your second one would be, okay, if we break 552, we're potentially looking at 560 overhead resistance and 565. We do have all-time highs at 600. So, we touched that, and we've been down into this channel here. So the key number on NVIDIA going into next week is 552. Scalp trades above 535 to 543, 547 are highly possible. Just keep in mind that you should take profits around that area, because we have been touching that area and getting rejected and pushing back down many times. Right here on November the 12th, over here on the 18th of November. So the key thing I would look at to see if we do break these levels is volume, catalyst, an upgrade from an analyst is one of the catalysts that I look at. Innovation, along with the holiday season's coming up. NVIDIA is used, I know their chipsets and whatnot are used in cars and the infotainment systems. So they've been really doing well. So news like that is something that I would look at for NVIDIA to have a breakout. On the support side, I'm looking at 525 and 520 for support. We touched it here last week, went down as low as 515, and we had a bounce. So again, 515 is a key level for me, and to the upside, 552 is the big key level. Okay, so that is NVIDIA on the 4-hour time frame. Next name is Tesla, TSLA. Tesla is pretty bullish right now. We are at all-time highs. The inclusion to the S&P 500, bullish targets by analysts, have all contributed to this stock pushing higher once again. Potentially, it could go as high as $1,000. I know that sounds crazy, but with the euphoric trading and the Robinhood trading with this stock, anything's possible. Did it before, and it can definitely push into the end of the year up there. I mean, it doesn't have to hit 1,000, but right now we're close to 600. And some key levels that I'm looking at for a breakout is the $600 mark. We touched it here and got pushed right back down, and we're currently closed right at support, which is at 585. So going to Monday above 600. My targets are always at even numbers. So at Tesla, it does like to run. So I'm looking at 610, 620, 630, and 650 as overhead targets, profits if we do get a breakout. Keep in mind that when stocks do break out at all-time highs at 600, in this case, they will push up and most likely will retest the 600 mark for support, confirming strength, and then push up afterwards. To the support side, I'm looking at 570, 560, 550, and 540 for support. Guys, when I'm trading, I'm not looking at a bunch of names. I'm looking at maybe 3 or 4 names going into the market open. And Tesla is one of those names to keep your eyes on. You don't need 5 or 6 or 7 screens. You just need one good name, 2 good names, a setup that works for you, and consistently trade that. And that's what happened last week. Members were told that Tesla was breaking out at key levels more than one time. I believe I traded Tesla 3 times. All 3 times, I hit the jackpot on it, thankfully. So that just shows that you just need to understand certain names and how they move, and especially when they're hot. And Tesla right now, with the inclusion of the S&P 500, with the bullish targets, innovation, Christmas coming up, this will push higher. So look at Tesla to push even higher in December. Okay. Next name on the list, Netflix, NFLX. Not much to report on Netflix. We've been stuck into the same range here for quite a while. I would say anywhere from 474 to 488 is a no touch, no trade zone. You could potentially take small scalp trades between these areas of 474 and 480 to 484 to 488. But I would categorize those as high risk trades. Key level that I'm looking at the very least is 500. A break of 500, I'm looking at 508 and 512 as key areas to take profit. The next major level that I'm looking at, if we do get past those areas, is the 522 mark. Big candle drop down here that basically pushed us back into this channel here where we were back in October. So this $500 mark is big. So I wouldn't touch Netflix until I see a break of 500 for a potential scalp to 512, 508. And then if you're more of a conservative trader and you're not willing to go through all this, I would say look at Netflix above 522 to 525 mark. Okay, we also have support at 460, which we almost touched back on the 10th of November. Okay, so that is Netflix on the 4-hour time frame. I'm going to go into Zoom right now. Zoom has earnings Monday, I believe after close. This is one of the so-called stay-at-home stocks that has been performing exceptionally well due to its platform being used for stay-at-home, work-at-home, jobs. So Zoom has earnings, and it'll be interesting to see if we could potentially push back to all-time highs, which was at the 588 mark. We currently close on strength on Friday, and Thursday. As you can see, we went as low as 374 back on the 16th of November and closing pretty bullish at 474 resistance. We could potentially push based on earnings and how good it does all the way back to 520 going into Monday. I'm looking at 477 to break for a potential scalp to 485 and 488. If you're more of a conservative trader, look for 500 as your first confirmation and 507 as your second confirmation to break for a potential scalp trade to 520. Zoom is very volatile, so keep that in mind. Guys, take profits when these key levels hit. Don't be greedy. Take those profits. Watch for volume increases. Watch for market conditions. If you are playing earnings, I suggest you don't. Many times a company does well and their numbers turn out great. However, the stock doesn't really do anything, or it might dip after market, after hours to a certain point and go up and swing up. And all that does is kill your premium. And the next day when you're opening up your account, you'll see that, it really hurt your option. So, I would stay out of earnings. If you're a long-term holder, that's fine. If you're an options trader, I would look to see if there's any opportunities tomorrow pushing into earnings, but I would not hold after that. Okay. Key levels to look at for support, 460, 450, and 442 is a key level for me. We got rejected here, pushed back down, and then broke through. So those are some key levels to look for. That is on Zoom. Guys, if you like this content, just give this a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I release these videos every week for group members. And if you're interested in joining our trading group, just head over to our Instagram. We're offering a 7-day free trial. Also, and get into wealthymentor.net and thewealthymentor.net and check out our Discord, promotions that we have and services that we provide. It's could really potentially help you in your trading career. All right. Next name I'm looking at is ROKU. ROKU is pretty much at all-time highs. Strong push the past few weeks by ROKU. We have overhead resistance at, let's just say here, 284. Right, we closed the session on Friday at 275. I'm gonna draw support here at 270. As you can see, wick down, buyer stepped in. Over here, buyer stepped in. And going into Monday, I am looking at that 270 mark. If we do open on weakness and drop below 270, I'm looking at 265, 255. It was the breakout point right here, and it was also resistance over here. So 255, 256 is a key level for me. Another level is 250 towards the downside. The upside, I'm basically looking at 284 to break. I would say, you could also draw a level of resistance at 280. So for me, I wouldn't necessarily enter at 280. I would call that too risky. I would say to myself, okay, 280 would be my first confirmation, right? It would grab my attention. And 284 above that would be my entry. Now, guys, keep in mind, like I've said before, when stocks do break to all-time highs, look for candle body closes. if you're an intraday trader, day trader, you know, I'm looking at the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute. If we get candles above that, over 284 closing, it would be a good opportunity to enter then. Even though sometimes we do break through these levels, candle bodies don't close and we wick back down. We have to close above these levels for a safer entry. Even though after you do get into a safer entry, stocks tend to break out and retest 284 for support and then break higher. So keep that in mind when you're entering ROKU above 284 at all-time highs. Okay, so that is ROKU on the 4-hour time frame. Next name, Peloton, PTON ticker, and Peloton on the 4-hour time frame. Again, this is one of the stay-at-home stocks. So look for correlations for other stay-at-home stocks and news based on lockdowns. Stocks like this tend to run. Gym closures, stocks like this tend to run. This is an exercise, bike, treadmill program that they offer for people working out at home. You know, I mentioned that we had Zoom earnings on Monday. You know, depending on the lockdown, depending on how they do, look for correlations for other stay-at-home stocks, and this is one of them. So going into Monday, I'm looking at 110.50, 109, 114 as key overhead resistance. We did close just below overhead resistance at 108.63 on Friday. So going into tomorrow, depending on where we open, 109, 110.50 are levels that I would look at. 110.50 is for a conservative trader, first confirmation to break, and 114 would be a safer entry for a potential scalp to the 117.50, 118.50 mark. We also have overhead resistance at 122.50. For support, you know, if we open up, let's say at 108, which where we closed on Friday, I'm looking at a break of 106 for a potential short to 102.50 and 100 as support, and it can go low as $94. As you can see here, we wicked down back on the 9th of November and the 10th of November, and as you see, buyers stepped in and pushed it back into this range of 110 to 106. So that is Peloton on the 4-hour time frame. Next name, Baba. Baba is one of those names I'll be looking at just because the holiday season is coming. Increased shopping, online orders will be something you should watch. Amazon, Baba, places where you can order stuff online, do a lot of holiday shopping. These names will run. So Baba is one of them. We have all-time highs at 320. We currently close Friday session below resistance at 276. You know, going into Monday, I'm still looking at that 280 mark, which has been overhead resistance for a while now. You know, we dropped down back on the 10th of November, and ever since then, we have not passed that 280 mark. So going into Monday, a break of 280 for potential take profit at 284, 287, and 290, 292 is what I'm looking at. Support continues to be at 272, 268, and 258. And it can go low as 252, which was evident back on November the 19th. So guys, keep your eyes on Baba. with the holiday seasons coming along. Also, stocks tend to rally. You know, it's called the Christmas rally. So watch out for names like this to potentially push. Keep an eye on volume. Keep an eye on market conditions. Keep an eye out on closures, store closures, and also watch for analysts to upgrade the price on BABA. Okay, that's BABA. Next name I will look into is SQ, Square. Square is a name that has been pushing higher for a number of reasons. One, their correlation to Bitcoin. So keep Bitcoin in mind. If potentially we see a big drop in Bitcoin or a correction in Bitcoin, look for Square to follow similar patterns. I'm not saying that's 100% accurate, but there's small clues to look at to see why Square pushes down. So Square, we are basically out all-time highs at 215. We did close Friday's session at 212. So, much like the previous names I spoke about, Tesla, Square, all-time highs, ROKU. When we do break out above 215, look for 215 to be retested for support and a break above that. If we do break 215, I'm looking at 218, 220, 222 on Square as overhead potential take profits. I have support here at 210, right? I can draw another support line here at this wick, right? We wick down to 206. So a break of 210, potential scalp trade down to 206 is highly possible. 204 and 202 are key levels. I'm looking at 204 as a key level. Why? It's because we tried to break it here. Huge push down back on November the 10th, all the way to 168. So this is strong support in my eyes. So look for a pullback to 204. If 204 can hold, look for a potential push back to all-time highs for a retest. As you can see here, we were rejected many times at the 214, 215 level. So going into Monday, I'm going to be watching this. I'm going to be watching these key levels of support as well, as I just mentioned. Okay, so that is Square on the 4-hour time frame. Another name I'm looking at going into Monday is Boeing, ticker name BA. BA has had quite a run. Some bullish news on what's it called? Travel. Dow Jones making all-time highs. Crazy catalysts. So keep an eye on also Boeing to see if we receive analyst upgrades. I know we received a few in the past few weeks based on its run up from 142. We're currently at 216, which was Friday's closure. Going into Monday, I'm looking at the 225 mark as overhead resistance. Above that, I'm looking at 234 as a potential take profit area. I'm just going to zoom out here to give you guys a broader look. We hit 240 off the lows of the pandemic back on June the 6th. So a break of 225, I'm looking at 234, 242, And if we can break 242, which was close to what this top was here back on June the 8th, I definitely think we are in for a trend change on Boeing, and potentially things are getting better in the transportation department. So watch for other names that correlate to Boeing. Most likely the travel names such as Delta, Norwegian airline, Norwegian ships, all those you know airline stocks tend to move when Boeing moves and vice versa. So 240, if we can get above this, you know, I do consider that a trend change. But going into Monday, my key level is 225. I have support at 210. Um, Below 210, I'm going to draw a support line here. 206 and 196 as key levels of support on Boeing. Okay. Next name, NIO, one of the EV names. Guys, as you know, Tesla is at all-time highs. Watch for names like NIO and LI, Solo, Xpeng. All these names correlate with each other. So if you see Tesla moving, your first instinct should be, okay, what is NIO doing? Oh, well, what is LI doing? What is Solo doing? Because these names tend to run with each other. So going into Monday, I'm looking at 54 as overhead resistance. We got rejected a few times here. This is on the 4-hour time frame, on the 24th, 25th, 27th. So, we've built up some resistance here at the 54 mark. So above that, I'm looking at overhead resistance at all-time highs, which was at 58.81. I'm going to draw another line here at 56, which this wicked above the $54 mark and touched it and got rejected. So 54 breaks. I'm looking for a scalp trade to 56. What I would do is I would enter at over $54. Don't forget to wait for confirmation. I would increase my position at $56 to 2 contracts or 3 contracts, whatever you're comfortable with, and for a potential take profit area at all-time highs. Now, you can close your position here, or you can again add to your position once more in hopes of increasing volume, catalyst, market conditions to push the stock higher to 60. Okay, so that is NIO for plays going to the upside. To the downside, I'm looking at 51 as support, acted as resistance here. It was the breakout level here. Buyer stepped in and pushed it back up above the 51 mark. So I'm looking at 51 as support. I would say another level area that I'm looking at as support is $49 and $47. That is NIO. Another name similar to NIO, like I just mentioned, LI, another EV name, stuck into the same channel, similar to NIO. So as you can see, guys, these charts look very similar to each other. So watch for one name to break and look to see if there's volume in other names to follow through with. So with LI, I'm looking at 40 and 42. Above that, potential profit at 44. Another potential profit at 46.50, and all-time highs at $50. As for support, I have support at 38, 34.50, and potentially 32.85 as buyers stepped in here on these big long wicks to push it to all-time highs. All right, guys, that's it for this Sunday stream. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Some key things I just want to mention is, control your position sizing. Control your greed. When I draw these levels and I point out to these levels are areas where people bought and sold, and these levels are where volume has been evident. So take profits, lock in profits. You could always re-enter, stay patient. You don't have to trade 10, 20, 30 names. Although I do have 10, 15, 20 names on my watch list, you really only need one or two names to be profitable. And that's how I've built my success over the years. I've concentrated on a few names. Some names that I've done really well in is NVDA, Netflix, Tesla, Apple. And those are my bread and butter plays. So going into Monday, find your main name. Look at how the stock moves and just trade that over and over again. Perfect your strategy. Go in, writing down your trades on what you plan to do and where do you take profits and where your stop losses are. Um, Journal at the end of the day. Look over your trades to see if what your mindset was. And also, guys, I recommend you guys also doing physical activity, going to the gym. It really helps with mind process, meditation, quiet time, and reading as well. So I just wanted to touch up on those things as trading involves a lot of psychology, and those things should help you out. All right, guys. So that's it for today's stream. Please give this a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you're interested in joining our group, head over to thewealthymentor.net and click on the Discord tab, and you'll see our membership prices there. We would love to have you. All right. Thank you and have a great day. See ya.